Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. We have some breaking news. UFC President Dana White announced 3 massive UFC Fight Night main events over the next couple months. We have Cory Sandhagen versus Umar Nurmagomedov in the bantamweight division. We have Max Holloway versus the Korean Zombie in the featherweight division. And we also have Ciryl Gane versus Sergey Spivak in the heavyweight division. I'm going to go through each one of these fights one by one and give you my reaction and early prediction. But honestly, overall, my initial reaction was I was doing something for about 2 hours. I didn't have my phone. I came back to my phone. The Discord just blew up. Breaking news, fight announcement. And my first initial thought was Dana White saw the Conor McGregor allegations, these massive allegations about Conor McGregor at the NBA Finals. And Dana White scrambled and said, what fights can we announce? We got to announce as many fights as possible. We got to overshadow this news. That was my initial reaction to all this news. Now, I wasn't planning on making a video about Conor McGregor and the allegations, but if that's something you guys want to see me do, let me know down in the comments and I will make the video. So the way I'm going to go through each one of these fights, there is a fight of the 3 fights that I think is the most compelling. So I'm going to start with the least compelling, and then I'm going to save the best for last. So starting off with the least compelling fight of all 3 announcements, Max Holloway versus the Korean Zombie. This will be going down August 26th in Singapore. And honestly, I talk about it all the time. I will applaud UFC matchmaking when they make a great fight. Like they made Ian Gary versus Jeff Neal. Absolutely love that matchup. I absolutely hate Max Holloway versus the Korean Zombie. The Korean Zombie's getting up there in age. He's 36 years old. Since 2019, he has 1 win against Dan Ige. That's back in June of 2021. In his last fight, he got the brakes beat off him by Alexander Volkanovski on short notice in a fight that he didn't even deserve to get, but the UFC just needed a title fight, and Max Holloway couldn't go on that date, so they gave it to the Korean Zombie. And when I look at this matchup, I just see Max Holloway putting an absolute beating on the Korean Zombie. And I know what the UFC is doing here. They're looking at Alexander Volkanovski's the champ. Max Holloway's already lost to him 3 times, with the last fight being the most dominating win for Volkanovski. And they're like, all right, we already had Max Holloway kill off Arnold Allen as a contender. We can't have him killing off other contenders in case Volkanovski stays the champion for another couple years. We need fresh contenders. So they're like, okay, well, the Korean Zombie just lost to Alexander Volkanovski. Plus, he's getting old. Plus, he wants to fight Max Holloway. Let's book this fight. We don't have to kill off a contender. And I do understand that, and I am sympathetic to that. But as a fan of the Korean Zombie, Chan Sung Jung, I'm so disappointed with this matchmaking because Max Holloway, you look at Max Holloway's, resume over the last couple years, he's lost to 2 fighters, Alexander Volkanovski and Dustin Poirier, on short notice at lightweight for an interim lightweight title. You look at his other fights, he beat Arnold Allen, who's one of the elite in the featherweight division. He beat Yair Rodriguez, who's the current interim champion. He beat Calvin Kattar and beat the brakes off of Calvin Kattar. And when I think of that January 2021 fight, Max Holloway versus Calvin Kattar, and the way he just beat him so badly, that's what I imagine Max Holloway versus the Korean Zombie is going to look like, and it makes me really, really disappointed. And I mean, even if somehow the Korean Zombie pulls off a victory, I mean, the Korean Zombie has okay power. I don't think he's going to stop Max Holloway. But then you basically ruin Max Holloway even more. What's Max Holloway going to do? I know there was rumors, oh, he's moving up to lightweight. People were telling me that yesterday. I said, I don't believe that for 1 second. He's not moving up to lightweight. He's not going to have success at lightweight. So I think Max Holloway is going to try to hang around, hope that Volkanovski loses to Yair, hope that Volkanovski, if he beats Yair, maybe goes back up to lightweight and tries to get another fight with Islam Makhachev. I think Max Holloway is kind of playing a waiting game. And in the meantime, he's going to catch a body against the Korean Zombie, go out there, beat him up badly. I see like a 3rd or 4th round doctor stoppage win for Max Holloway in this fight. I mean, look what Alexander Volkanovski did to the Korean Zombie. And I know Alexander Volkanovski is better than Max Holloway, but Max Holloway just puts a pace on guys and throws so much volume and throws so many punches. I see the Korean Zombie getting a bad beating, and I think this will be Korean Zombie's retirement fight. And it's just super unfortunate that they couldn't give him a more favorable matchup or a more fun matchup than Max Holloway. And again, I know they don't want Max Holloway killing off another contender, but Max Holloway is going to beat the brakes off of the Korean Zombie. All right, moving on to the next fight announcement I want to talk about. It is September 2nd in Paris. We have Ciryl Gane versus Sergey Spivak in the heavyweight division. Ciryl Gane, there's some people who would call him the LeBron James of MMA. Now, I personally wouldn't call him that because I think he's an absolute fraud. But Ciryl Gane getting a tough test in Sergey Spivak. And I know that's weird to say considering Ciryl Gane's fought for a heavyweight title basically 3 times if you include the interim belt. But Ciryl Gane, he's notorious for his bad wrestling. Look at his last fight against John Jones. Got taken down, submitted in a little over 2 minutes. Got guillotined. Had no takedown defense in that fight. And you go back to his fight with Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou won that fight with the takedown, even though he had a blown out ACL and he had a massive knee injury. And he took Ciryl Gane and just took him down and controlled him after losing the first 2 rounds. Took him down in 3, 4, and 5. In between there, Ciryl Gane got a win over Tai Tuivasa, but Tai Tuivasa's not that great. And even Tai Tuivasa rocked him in their fight, but Tai Tuivasa has no grappling. Tai Tuivasa has a loss to Sergey Spivak, if I'm not mistaken. And Spivak, he comes in on a 3-fight winning streak. He just mauled Derek Lewis in their last fight, took him down, beat him up, submitted him via arm triangle in the first round. And I think this is one of those fights where Ciryl Gane, this is a must win for Ciryl Gane. A lot of people going into that John Jones fight said, okay, well, he was taken down by Francis Ngannou, who's a massive heavyweight, and he's definitely wasn't training for that. Now he's going to train for it for John Jones, and he'll be able to stuff the takedown. John Jones took him down with ease, and took him down actually multiple times because he took him down, and Ciryl Gane kind of popped up, drug him right back down, had nothing to offer in terms of his defensive wrestling. And Sergey Spivak, what's his nickname? His nickname's the Polar Bear. He's going to come out looking to grapple, and he knows what Ciryl Gane's weakness is. This is your typical striker versus grappler matchup. And I think Ciryl Gane is going to try to, be light on his feet and kind of pump the jab and use a lot of movement in this fight and just try to outstrike Sergey Spivak. And I do believe Ciryl Gane is the much better striker in this fight. But Sergey Spivak has very good takedowns, has very good offensive jiu-jitsu, has very good submission ability. Of his 16 wins, 7 by knockout and 7 by submission. And without going through every single one of those wins off the top of my head, a lot of those TKOs, I believe, were on the ground via ground and pound. So Ciryl Gane, I already personally believe he was way overrated, way overhyped, and he was exposed by John Jones. He was exposed by Francis Ngannou. There was way too many people on the Ciryl Gane hype train. And if he loses this fight against Sergey Spivak, that just goes to show you Ciryl Gane is never going to improve his offensive wrestling. He is never, ever, ever going to improve his offensive wrestling. He's 33 years old. Now, I know in the heavyweight division, you can, fight till you're probably like 42, 43. Some even fight till they're like 45, honestly. But at 33 years old, if he can't learn to stuff a takedown at this point, and I know it's easier said than done, but this is a fight. The UFC's throwing him right to the wolves. I thought the UFC might give him something a little bit more manageable, and this is going to sound crazy. I think Sergey Pavlovich was a lot more manageable for Ciryl Gane because Pavlovich isn't going to try to grapple. He's going to try to strike, but I'm so glad the UFC didn't book that fight. There was talk of that matchup, Ciryl Gane versus Sergey Pavlovich. I didn't want that fight at all because I favored Ciryl Gane in that fight because I thought he was the more technical striker and Pavlovich isn't going to try to grapple. And I want to see Pavlovich at the top of the division because he's an interesting and fresh contender in the heavyweight division. So I'm so glad he didn't book that. But now Ciryl Gane, he may be on his way to the Derek Lewis route. He may be on his way to the bottom of the top 10. I think Derek Lewis is ranked out of the top 10 at this point. So this is your typical striker versus grappler matchup. Who am I going to go with? I'm going Sergey Spivak. I'm going Sergey Spivak via submission, first or second round submission. I do not trust Ciryl Gane at all. I know he's going to try to be light on his feet. I know Sergey Spivak doesn't have the greatest head movement. And I know Sergey Spivak kind of plots forward and he's kind of slow. And I know I've talked about the heavyweight division being the least skilled men's division in the UFC. But I just think he's going to get a hold of Ciryl Gane. He's going to drag him to the ground. He's going to beat him up on the ground. He's going to control him on the ground. And I think he's going to find a submission. I think Sergey Spivak finishes Ciryl Gane in the first or second round. I'm going to say arm triangle submission. But as always, as these fights get closer, I'll do full breakdown and prediction videos for these fights. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Okay, moving on to the last fight that was announced. And I think this is the best fight of the bunch. August 5th in Nashville, we are getting Cory Sandhagen versus Umar Nurmagomedov. This fight's been rumored for a while. It's been rumored for August 5th in Nashville, but it is finally official. And I absolutely love this fight. This is excellent matchmaking by the UFC. And I know there's a lot of people who have said, how is Umar jumping up in the rankings? How is he jumping up in the rankings and taking on somebody like Cory Sandhagen? Because if you look at the current rankings, Cory Sandhagen's number 4, Umar Nurmagomedov is number 11. And there's been people, even James Lynch has said, how is he going to skip the line? I don't think he's skipping the line. I think a lot of these guys are letting him in front of them because they're turning down a fight with Umar Nurmagomedov. At some point, Umar Nurmagomedov needs to step up in competition. And if none of the guys in front of him are willing to take it, if Pedro Munoz isn't willing to take it, I'm not saying he turned down a fight, but some of these guys did. If Dominic Cruz isn't willing to take it, if Song Yadong's booked, if Rob Font's booked, there's got to be somebody, and it's going to be Cory Sandhagen. And I absolutely love these types of fights where you have a fighter who's either outside the top 15 or barely in the top 15, and they looked really good but haven't fought the best competition, and then they get a massive leap up. This reminds me of a fight that never happened that I was so excited for, and that was Khamzat Chimaev versus Leon Edwards back in the day before Khamzat was even ranked, and Leon Edwards was ranked like top 3 at the time. I absolutely loved that matchup. It never came to fruition, but you can go back and you can look at a similar matchup, Khamzat Chimaev versus Gilbert Burns. I love that matchup as well. You can go back and look at Sean O'Malley versus Petr Yan. I love that matchmaking as well, giving a hyped up fighter who's looked good against lesser competition, giving them that massive jump up. And for me, this fight is a number 1 contender fight or close to a number 1 contender fight because you got a little bit of a logjam because Aljamain Sterling's the champion. He's taking on Sean O'Malley in his next fight. If he defeats Sean O'Malley, and he said he's going to go up to featherweight potentially, so that leaves the belt vacant. That leaves Merab as the number 1 contender. I think the winner of this fight versus Merab Dvalishvili, I was going to say the winner of Aljamain Sterling versus Sean O'Malley. But if Aljo wins and goes up and leaves the belt vacant, I want the winner of Cory Sandhagen versus Umar Nurmagomedov to fight Merab Dvalishvili for the vacant bantamweight title. I absolutely love this matchup because Cory Sandhagen, elite striker, one of the funnest strikers to watch, has great movement, great power, variety of attack, flashy techniques, flying knees. He went out there in his last fight and beat the brakes off of Marlon Vera, outstruck him, outgrappled him. Fight before that, he beat up Song Yadong. Look how good Song Yadong has looked. Song Yadong is an incredible fighter, and Cory Sandhagen went out there and beat him up and eventually got a doctor stoppage. It was a close competitive fight. I'm not saying it was a dominant win. And then you look at Cory Sandhagen's losses. He lost to Petr Yan, but it was on short notice. It was a super competitive fight. He lost to TJ Dillashaw back in July of 2021, but that was a robbery in my opinion. That was a split decision, but Cory Sandhagen should have won. And then you have the loss to Aljamain Sterling, which is the worst loss of his career essentially. He got absolutely dominated, submitted in the first round, submitted in 1 minute and 28 seconds into the first round. But he's been itching to avenge that loss. And I don't think he's ever going to get that fight with Aljamain Sterling. But as much as I want to doubt Cory Sandhagen's grappling, his grappling looked excellent against Petr Yan. His grappling looked very good against Marlon Vera. He uses offensive grappling. And he's been itching to get that rematch with Aljamain Sterling. And on top of that, after his win in his last fight against Marlon Vera, he called out Merab Dvalishvili. So I have this confidence in Cory Sandhagen's grappling because of the way he's acted about his grappling. And then Umar Nurmagomedov, he's still a bit of an unknown. I am very high on Umar Nurmagomedov. I've said for a while, I think he's a future title contender at minimum, potentially a future title holder. But look who he's fought so far. Sergey Morozov, not bad competition, but not great. Brian Kelleher, Nate Maness, Ronnie Barcelos. Now, he KO'd Ronnie Barcelos in his last fight. But again, that's a decent veteran on his resume, but not the greatest of opponents. But he's looked very good doing it. And now he's getting a huge leap up and a huge test against Cory Sandhagen. And what I find interesting is a lot of people hear that Nurmagomedov last name and they think, oh, he's a grappler. He's going to wrestle. Umar Nurmagomedov's best weapon is his kicks. So don't think of him as just a grappler. Of course, does he use it? Yes. But he has great kicks. He has great striking. I would say he's a better striker than he is a wrestler. And I know that's a little bit of a bold statement, but I think people forget sometimes certain guys' skill sets because of their last names or because of just preconceived notions. They're like, oh, well, this guy's really good at this. Like Ilya Topuria for a while. And I talked about this in the lead up to the Bryce Mitchell fight. People say, oh, Topuria's a striker. He's going to get out grappled by Bryce Mitchell. Topuria's mainly a grappler who has very good jiu-jitsu and submission skills. And I mentioned that in the lead up to the fight ad nauseum. And look what he did to Bryce Mitchell. Not only did he beat him up on the feet, he ragdolled him and submitted him on the ground. So Umar Nurmagomedov, don't sleep on his striking. I think this is a super competitive fight. I think Umar Nurmagomedov can win this fight. But for an early prediction, I got to go Cory Sandhagen. I can't look at Cory Sandhagen's resume and see how well he's done against elite level competition, and then look at Umar Nurmagomedov's resume against guys where he's dominated all these guys. He dominated Ronnie Barcelos. He dominated Nate Maness. He dominated Brian Kelleher. He dominated Sergey Morozov. But look at the level of competition. There is levels to this game. And sometimes when fighters like this get a big jump up in competition, they look just as good. But right now, and I may change my pick because I really am high on Nurmagomedov, but I would say 85% of the time, I go with the more experienced guy with the known resume where we've seen him tested against elite competition. And I just have to go with Cory Sandhagen for an early prediction for this fight. But I absolutely love this matchup. And what's crazy is it's mid-June right now. August 5th, as crazy as that sounds, it's right around the corner. It is right around the corner. It's under 2 months away. So shout out to the UFC for making this fight. I really love the Cory Sandhagen, Umar Nurmagomedov matchup. The Sergey Spivak, Ciryl Gane fight, I like it. I'm not like crazy about it, but I like the fact that they're kind of making Ciryl Gane. He's going to sink or swim here with his grappling. And then again, the Korean Zombie, Max Holloway fight, not high on it all. But just again, my predictions, my early predictions for these fights. I'm going Max Holloway by stoppage, TKO, probably doctor stoppage actually. I'm going Sergey Spivak via submission over Ciryl Gane. And I have to go Cory Sandhagen. I'll probably go Cory Sandhagen decision, but Umar Nurmagomedov can win this fight. And this is a massive fight in the bantamweight division with title implications on the line. I cannot wait. And that's the first fight, I believe, right? Because that's August 5th. Yeah. The Sandhagen-Umar fight is the first fight because it's August 5th of these three matchups, because the Holloway versus TKZ fight is August 26th, and then the Gane versus Spivak fight is September 2nd. So I like all these matchups outside of the Korean Zombie versus Max Holloway, which leaves a lot to be desired in my opinion. But three big fights. I think they announced it to kind of overshadow the Conor McGregor news. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Who are you picking in all three of these matchups? Is anyone picking the Korean Zombie? Let me know down in the comments so I can block you. But thank you guys so much for watching the video. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And thank you so much for watching.